How do you ensure they get a good night's sleep without worrying about any encroachment and so on and so forth?
When you're managing your liquid wealth, you don't spend a sleepless night thinking, is my mutual fund safe or not?
What are the most common roadblocks you'd say that they come across?
Typically, it starts with understanding the requirement. How do we stand out from the traditional service providers? Being aware of the nature of properties that you can invest into and you can't.
Tell us how you stand out from the rest of the crowd, what you're offering that the others are not. Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Navigate with HSBC. NRIs are increasingly looking to invest in the real estate market back in India. We're here to make things much simpler for you. Just give us a broader sense, if you zoom out, on how the demand for property management services itself. Has it changed over the years? Has it increased now? And the range of services that a company like Indiassetz is able to offer NRIs.
Sure. So with everything, I think the quality of services that people expect has increased over time. With the advent of technology, everything is at the tip of the fingertips. So you want everything on an app. And the same goes with real estate property management services as well. Now that's a little bit more complex piece to solve because it's not like ordering dal, chawal, right? Where you get delivered in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But what we've seen is people are demanding professional advice. People are willing to pay for professional advice because they realize the value of time. People now value time more than some percentage fees up and down.
Okay.
And having said that, what Indiassetz does for the clients is, we start from the very basics. We start from advisory, which is we understand the client, we understand where are they currently invested in, what is the short-term, long-term horizon in terms of the real estate wealth management, and then we start figuring out from their requirements perspective. Then we start drilling down into, is it commercial, is it residential, which areas, and then help them with the entire due diligence and ensure that they have a good experience. When you're managing your liquid wealth, you don't spend a sleepless night thinking, is my mutual fund safe or not? Because it's regulated. There are tons of people looking at it. With real estate, that's not the case. Most of the times, you're wondering, is somebody encroaching on my land? Is the due diligence okay?
Especially when you're so far away.
When you're far away, absolutely. Is the due diligence okay? Is there somebody who's going to put a case on my property because they don't see me around for 6 months? They think it's easy target. So we take away all that pain for the NRIs. And that's something that has found a lot of resonance with them. They're really willing to, come to Indiassetz because they want their good night's sleep.
So let's say I'm an NRI who's bought a property through Indiassetz. Are you going to ensure my rent is taken up on time? Are you going to ensure that nobody's, constructing on my land? What exactly are you going to do? You make it seem like you have feet on the street that are watching the property at all times.
We do. So, depending on the requirement of the client, for example, if you've rented out a property and not getting it paid on time for a couple of months, then obviously the client reaches out through the relationship manager to Indiassetz. We go take a visit, try and understand what's happening. Just nudge the client. So it's very
hands on ground, feet on street, that kind of a approach.
Yes. So from a client perspective, it's all on the app, but from an execution perspective, it's all feet on the street.
Okay, that's quite interesting. When NRIs are starting to invest or looking to invest, what are the most common roadblocks you'd say that they come across?
So in terms of the roadblocks, what they come across, largely starting from the regulatory pieces in terms of what asset classes can they invest into and what they can't, starting with that. And then trying to figure out the right location for a particular property. Because you're far away, you're going to rely on some sort of an advice, either from friend, family, or a Google search. So getting those pieces right is sort of a roadblock. Repatriation of money into India, taking it back.
Oh, that's a huge piece.
That's a huge piece. The tax implications, be it short-term capital gains, long-term capital gains, rental income. Those are pieces that people sometimes falter with. And if they make a mistake, then the funds get stuck for a long period of time because repatriation is always a complex process. So these are typically the common roadblocks that we see clients encountering.
Okay.
And then, of course, the biggest one is the title to the property clean.
Yeah.
Is there going to be encroachment? Are there multiple claimants to it? So those are pieces that are typical roadblocks.
You earlier said sometimes you rely on your cousins to find you that property and collect the rent, right? But then there are also more professional services. You have, the traditional real estate managers, and then you have, platforms like Indiassetz. Tell us how you stand out from the rest of the crowd, what you're offering that the others are not, and what really makes you unique.
Yeah, so when we started out offering professional real estate wealth management 10 years ago, we were sort of one of the very few in the country doing that. And as time has passed, technology has emerged, has now taken over a lot of things. So we have also kept pace. In the last 3-5 years, we've invested tremendously in technology. We have an application that customers use. So how do we stand out from the traditional service providers is, one, from a client-facing perspective, it's all seamless transactions through the app. They don't need to call a PRM, and because there's a time difference, right? So they don't have to worry about that. They raise a request on the app. The PRM reaches out, takes care of the things, reaches out back to them once the work is done. We provide proof of performance, and it's done. So you don't have to rely on multiple sources. We are sort of a one-stop shop, right from legal due diligence to property purchase to maintenance to ongoing maintenance, paying taxes, all the legal requirements. Everything is sort of a one-stop shop for everything. If you went to a traditional real estate guy, then you'll probably end up having to transact with one for your purchase. Then you have to figure out a lawyer. You have to figure out a guy who will manage your property management services.
Yeah.
So it's sort of scattered. It's multiple touch points which get converged when they come to Indiassetz.
So it's all under one roof with
all under one
Indiassetz.
roof.
Okay, we spoke about property management and rental income management earlier, but give us a little more detail. Let's say, for example, when NRIs already bought a property in India, you're going to manage it for them. You're going to manage the rental yield. What is the process like? How do you ensure they get a good night's sleep without worrying about any encroachment and so on and so forth?
Sure. So typically it starts with understanding the requirement, and once they're clear that they want to get into either commercial or residential from an investment perspective, then we undertake a micro market survey in terms of the area in which they're looking to get into, right? So that survey will tell us what is the average rental in that area, what is the growth that the area has seen in terms of rental, the quality of the tenants in that area, and that it starts from there. Then we sort of narrow down the requirements from the client's perspective. We present them various options. We narrow down the requirements once they've looked at all of this. And then once they come to a particular product, then we look at the legal due diligences, ensure that the titles are clear. They have all the paperwork in place, the taxes are paid, income return certificates are all done. Any government licensing to be done, we undertake it on their behalf. Once all of those are done, then we help them with the final piece, which is agreement execution. After that, there's going to be the payment. Right,
yeah.
So we also help them. We work with partners like HSBC, so they have access to housing loans or property loans, and those are pieces that they can dip into.
Okay.
And then, of course, on the ongoing maintenance piece, once the property has been leased out, if there's a leaking tap or a client requiring painting in a particular place, we get all of that done. So there's nothing under the sun from a real estate perspective that we don't do for clients because we want them to sleep well.
Well, that was going to be my next question, but you already clarified that you do everything from repair, painting, leakage to,
we do.
Whatever there is to be done, even after leasing is done. But, before we close this part of the conversation, what are some of the legal and regulatory aspects of buying property in India that NRIs must keep in mind? You spoke about some of the changing rules and how you should take help of professionals to stay up to date as to where you can and cannot invest. But broadly, are there some guidelines they should keep in mind?
Yes. So some of them have been around for a while, the regulations. And some of them are, of course, emerging every year. So it's always best to consult your advisor before you make a decision. But broadly, being aware of the nature of properties that you can invest into and you can't is one. The second is from a FEMA compliance, how do you put money into the country, the NRO account, the NRI account, because there are restrictions around the repatriation of the funds once the sale has been made. There are restrictions in terms of the number of properties on which the fund can be repatriated. So being aware of some of those, paying your taxes properly on an annual basis so that you have all your records clean. So all of those are pieces from a regulatory angle that are very critical. And a lot of people are aware, but they rely on internet search, which is not always helpful. So relying on professional advice, because we've been there, done that. We have an ecosystem. We understand the market deeply. And that's what we rely on from our advisory perspective. And we have a wide range of advisors as well. So if something becomes very complex, then we have our own set of advisors that we work with. But from your perspective, from a client's perspective, we are sort of the go-to guys.
You know how they always say high returns come with high risk. But as an advisor, Indiassetz, how do you balance, the risk on one hand and the profitability on the other? What do you do when you're advising your clients to make sure that, the risk is well covered for?